Hello you guys, welcome back to the channel. Hi, my name is Erin. If you are new here, welcome. If you're returning, thanks for clicking on another video. Today we're going to be getting into a pretty fun video, at least in my opinion. It's one I've been wanting to do since the beginning of the year, and so it has to do with books, as I've been doing a lot more book content here on my channel, and I've just really been enjoying it, so hopefully you guys are as well. Yes, here on my channel I like to do all things makeup, movies, and books. So I like to talk about movies, particularly horror movies. I just really enjoy them, but all movies in general. I really love makeup and beauty. It's just something that is a great outlet and a lot of self-care that I love. And also books. I do really enjoy to read. So if you're interested in any of those topics, then just stick around. But anyways, we're going to be getting into this video where I'm going to be talking about the books that I DNF'd or did not finish. And this could be from any time period, not just have to be recent books. I tend not to DNF books or not finish books typically, but you know, sometimes you just don't finish a book for whatever reason. So I'm going to be talking about some of those today. And I'm also having a goal this year, because I don't tend to DNF books or not finish them, even if I don't enjoy them or don't enjoy them a lot. But I need to be more conscious of what I'm reading, and if I don't want to finish it, and don't finish it, it's okay. But yes, so we're going to get into this video right now. If you enjoy videos like this, give it a thumbs up, or if you have video suggestions, let me know down in the comment section. I've been kind of on and off YouTube for a minute, taking breaks, but I'll be more consistent in a little while, probably next month or the month after. But yes, anyways, let's go ahead and hop into the video. Don't forget to hit the like button and the subscribe button if you want to. All right, you guys, I want to show you guys my shirt today. It's so cute. It's from Hot Topic, and the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, like, reboot, requel, whatever it is, just came out today. I'm not going to watch it just yet, but I'll definitely be watching it soon and review it. But anyways, so let's get into the video. Books I've DNF'd, or books I did not finish, whether this be from years and years ago or recently. Let's go into it. I have 5 here that that are fresh in my mind, or that are very much the ones that I'm remembering that I DNF'd, but I'm sure there will be others, and you know, I maybe can do a part 2 to this as well. But I only have 5 today on my list, so let's go ahead and hop into my. All right, you guys, opening up my little mini bullet journal I'm using for YouTube videos. I'm loving journaling right now. It's amazing. But the first one here on my list is actually Heidi by Joanna Spyri. Hope I'm saying that right. But this book is one that is definitely like a classic, and I read this, I believe, in like middle or high school. I attempted to read it, and I'm going to say middle school, because I can remember reading it, and again, it being a classic story, and I just could not get through it. I was so bored, and I just was not understanding it. It was, I don't know if it was above my level at that time, which I read a lot in elementary, middle, and high school. I was pretty, not to like boast or anything like that, but I was pretty advanced with my reading, read really fast, etc., etc. But for some reason, this book did not click for me. I just felt like it was so hard, and it is, I believe, an older book. But I actually just took the advice of one of my teachers at the time, and I want to say I was in either middle school, and I remember something that my elementary school teacher had told me. She said, if the book is just above your level, or you're just not into it, just put it down and try again later. So I put the book down. I actually owned the book. I think I bought it from like a thrift store or something. That was my usual haunt in middle and high school, was to go to the thrift store, Goodwill, or any thrift store in general that had books, and I would always get my mom to buy me books, and that was one of the books I had recently got. And so I was like, I'm gonna just stop reading this. And I waited a few years, and I went back and read it again, and actually did finish it. But this was the first one that popped in my head, because it was like one of the first times where I was just like, I can't finish this book in my life. And so at that point I was like, yeah, it's best that I put this book down, which I did. And I just, yeah, it was a good decision. Sometimes you have to just put a book down, especially if you're just not in the mood for reading, or it's too complicated, or you know, you're not at that point where you can read that book, especially like during your if you're growing up. What is the right word I'm trying to say? If you're still young, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And you can always go back to the book, even with your, you know, an adult and you're just not in the reading mood. You can always put a book down, go back to it. So this was my first lesson on that at a quite young age, that I could just put this book down, come back to it. And I did go back to it later on. I'm probably in high school or sometime around that time when I was a bit older, and actually read the book. So that was the first one that
Alright,
came to my mind. The second book on my list here is the Tommyknockers by Stephen King. I remember this one very clearly. I was in high school. I want to say ninth or 10th grade, and I had checked this book out from the school library, which, thinking about it now, a lot of high schools have carry Stephen King. I would assume so. I mean, basically in high school, pretty much, there's a lot of variation in which you can read by the time you get to that level. But I remember very clearly checking this out from my school library at the time, and I was already quite a fan of Stephen King, and I had already read some of his books. I read before that Insomnia, and I really enjoyed it, by Stephen King, and a couple other of his books. So I was like, let me give this one a try. And if you've ever seen The Tommyknockers by Stephen King, it is a very thick book. It's one of his longer ones, and he does have a lot of variation. He writes so much. He has novellas, he has books that are medium length, and then he has the chunky ones, thinking like It, or some of the books in the Dark Tower series, and many other books that he has that are very, very, very long. The Stand, prime example. And I remember starting this and enjoying it and getting into the story, but I just got so overwhelmed with how long the book was that I just was like, I can't do it. So I literally just went back to the library a few days later and returned the book. It was just too long for me at that point, or I just was feeling very overwhelmed with it. And so I do want to go back and read that book, actually. I know there's some talk that there might be an adaptation to this book soon, or coming up. So I do want to go back and read it now, especially now that I've gotten a lot more used to reading really, really long books. I mean, just this past year, I read Wolves of Kala, which is like 900 pages, and then Dune, which is like 800 pages. I don't remember how long or how many pages the Tommyknockers had, but I do remember that it was a chunky one, and it might not even be as long as those books I just mentioned. And then a few, like maybe 5 or 6 years ago, 7 maybe, I don't know, I'm kind of off with it, but I read also It, which is one of my favorite books by Stephen King, and that's over 1,000 pages. So I'm definitely in the mood for reading longer books now. Well, when I get in that mood to read longer books, or when I plan it out appropriately, like not trying to do too much. So I do want to go back and read the Tommyknockers, actually, but yeah, at this point I just wasn't ready for it. The third one on my list here is Queen Elizabeth's Daughter. This one is actually from last year. I had a couple reading challenges last year, and one of them was to read a book that had a royalty title in the title. Prince, King, Queen, Princess, something like that. And I picked this one up from the library because I just hadn't read anything with that in the title, and I actually do enjoy reading books that might have someone that is a royal or a royalty in as a character, but I just hadn't read any, and so I was like, well, let me pick something up from the library. So I picked this off of the shelf. I saw it sitting on the shelf. I was like, oh, that goes with my reading challenge. Read the synopsis. I was like, okay, this sounds interesting. Got it back here to my house from the library. Never read it, never picked it up, never had the interest to start it. I think I started the first couple pages, didn't grab me. I just did not seem, it just wasn't pulling me at the moment. And I wasn't in a reading slump or anything. I was reading other books. I just feel like at that point, I just was not interested that much in it. And this book is by Anne Clenard. Not to say that it's a bad book or anything like that. It's just I was not in the mood for it. Just not interested. Couldn't get into it. And I feel like it was mainly I picked it up for the challenge, for the reading challenge that I was doing last year, and not really because I wanted to read it, which is why I've changed my reading challenges a bit this year to include more leeway for myself and more reader's choice as well. Because I feel like sometimes with reading challenges, you might just be trying to read for a prompt and it might not be as interesting, which is why we should also have the opportunity to DNF books. If we're doing reading challenges, they can be good to help us explore other topics and genres and books we might not have picked up otherwise, but there's also that freedom to put the book down if you don't enjoy it, and that's okay. So that one just wasn't in the mood for it. Fourth one on my list is actually another Stephen King novel, and this one is Needful Things. I think I was trying to read this one 2019-2020. It's on my shelf. I still own it. And again, it's a Stephen King novel. It's another really chunky one. And at this point, I was in a huge reading slump that I have been in for years now at this point. I hadn't really read that much, and I picked this up thinking, let's just get back into it, let's just hop into it. Should have probably started off with something a little lighter. And the book itself started off really good. Like I said, I'm a huge fan of Stephen King's work. I'm a huge fan of his books, so it wasn't that aspect that was not pulling me in. It's just I was not in the mood for reading. Again, a very long book, a thick one. I mean, I own it. Here it is, Needful Things, Stephen King. And in this particular edition, it has, what, 731 pages. So again, very chunky, thick book. And I was enjoying it. I even still have the dog hair bookmark here. I was 60 pages in. I just gave up. I mean, not to say give up. I don't want to say it like that. It's not that I gave up. I just was not in the mood for reading at all. I just was in a huge slump. And not that I didn't read any books that year, but very, very few. And now that I've really gotten back into reading, this is another one that I want to pick back up again, especially since it's on my shelf. Like, I do own it. I want to give it another chance, another attempt. I've heard this is a really good story, and it also has some appearances of some antagonists that have appeared in many different stories from Stephen King, and I love the connection of the Stephen King universe. I don't know too many people's opinions on the book, though. If it's one that's more well loved. I do know that it also has a movie, so I would like to read that one and maybe react to the movie as well. But yeah, I didn't finish it. Last one, and number 5 on my list, is Wild Hundreds, which is a poetry book actually by Nate Marshall. I picked this one up again last year for my reading challenge. I wanted to read at least one poetry book, and I actually really do enjoy poetry, but I definitely have to be in the mood for it. And so again, this was an instant where I just was not in the mood for it. I did read about 50% of it, so I did kind of count it not as done, but as like part of my reading challenge, I believe. Or maybe I didn't. I don't know. I can be kind of very critical if I don't finish it. Like, you didn't finish it, girl. But I did read more than 50% of the book, and I really did enjoy many of the poems, but I just was not in the mood to finish this one. Again, not to say anything about the book or the author. Like I said, I did enjoy the ones that I did read, but I just was not in the mood for poetry. And like I said, I have to be in a specific mood for poetry, and I do have specific poetry or authors that I really, really love. Kind of more of the classic ones. I really loved Langston Hughes. I really love Edgar Allan Poe. Those are the ones that I kind of have accustomed myself to, but I do want to venture out and read other types of poetry and other authors. I mean, it's not like I've never read other authors in poetry, but like I said, I haven't in a quite a long time, and I just was not in the mood for it last year, or not in the mood for it when I had that book out in particular. So yeah, so that was the last one on my list, you guys. So those are the books that really popped into my mind for this particular topic, the books that I've DNF'd, did not finish. And it's possible that I can go back and finish some of these. Like I said, I went back and finished Heidi, even though I put that one down. So for sure, I want to go back and read the Tommyknockers and Needful Things, and give those another chance, especially now that it's been some time. But yeah, let me know, have you had a book that you just could not finish, or something that you were not in the mood for reading and you had it and you just gave up? That's for lack of a better term here. Let me know down below. So much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, give it a thumbs up, of course, and subscribe to the channel to see more content like this. And I will check you guys out in the next video very, very soon. Stay safe. Adios.